Hey everybody, how you doing today? This is Dairy Titan, and I have special guests today. I have Kathleen Regan and Simon Barracchini. So I want to welcome them today to the podcast because they have a film that's out, and I want to talk about this particular film. Not just talk about this particular film, but I want to know the ins and the outs to getting this film picked up. The film is called Godless Children. And before I even go on anymore, let Simon and Kathleen explain who they are and what they do.
Sure. I'm Kathleen Regan. For the film, I am the co-writer, co-producer, and I actually star in the film. Uh, yep.
And I'm Simon Barracchini. I am the director, co-producer, and co-writer as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure and a crazy ride working with Kathy on this film, for sure.
So, how did this film come about?
Simon, I'll let you lead that one.
Okay. So I was in the process of coming up with an idea for a feature film. I've done a lot of shorts in my career as well as a series before this. But I was looking to write a feature. Met Kathy through a mutual filmmaker friend and kind of got to talking, kind of hit off on the idea of I would love to write, and I'm really bad at just sitting down in front of a blank screen and typing. And Kathy said, well, I take really great notes. And so we kind of just linked up and started working on a project, but then after a few weeks realized that that story wasn't quite right. And something kind of happened on the way to work one day where I was leaving my house, and there was in my mailbox, there was an envelope that was handwritten, addressed to me. And I looked at it, and it just, the first thought that came to mind is like, do I know the person who sent this? Because it's not like, junk mail. It had no return address. And so it's kind of creepy in a way. And you just kind of like, did someone find me? Is it a long lost child? Like, who knows what it could be? And open it up, and it's a Jehovah's Witness letter. And it's kind of a great marketing plan, but at the same time, it kind of spurred on an idea of how did I react? How did I go to this extreme of like, all these scenarios? And then I started thinking like on that child path of like, well, if it was a long lost child, I was like, that would be very strange, but what if I was a woman and received that? Like, would I have the same kind of reaction? Like, how would I think about that? And I was like, what if it was a child and I was a woman? Like, you'd have to remember that, right? And so I, gave that idea to Kathy, and she then ran with it into kind of what it is now, and we kind of built from there. But I'll let Kathy kind of add her take on the rest of the story.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, when Simon told me that, I said, yeah, it's one thing for a woman. Yeah, it would be very odd. But I'm a woman that's infertile, been infertile all my life. So that would be even odder. So if someone rang my doorbell and said, I'm your daughter, I'm like, I can't have kids, never had kids. I don't know what you're talking about. And I feel like in screenwriting, when we write, what we like to do is what's the worst that can happen? What's the biggest conflict, right? In this scene, in this script, what is the thing that will heighten it above the normal, right? So we kind of took that idea and heightened it, and made this dramatic thriller of what could happen with this. In every scene, we try to look at it and then say, yeah, is this enough? Right? Is this enough? What else could happen there? What is not expected in this scene, in this script, in whatever? What is the non-expected that people haven't seen before? So that's sort of how we started writing.
One of the things of it is as a filmmaker and as a lover of film, we're always looking for, or as a fan of film, right? As an audience member of film, I love to sit in the audience. As a person who looks for films, like different films, right? This one is truly different. Like it is about a infertile woman a woman who is not able to give birth and has a child. That is different. The premise alone is all conflict within itself. Just the premise alone. And I think that's the thing that's like when I after I read it, and I read it when you first sent me over the pitch deck, and I read it again, and I was like, this is just insane. So y'all produce it, and after it's produced, y'all looking for a distribution deal, or did you look for the deal before then?
Well, one thing is, before we even went into the very hard work that we all know of making a film on your own, independent, like low budget, right? So before we even went there and said, before we take this gargantuan task on, and what do we want? What's the end goal? Like there has to be an end goal, not only for ourselves as writers and as filmmakers, but for our actors. I'm an actor as well, and it's very important to let the actors know, hey, you're giving your time and talent to this project, and I want to let you know what our timeline is and what your expectations are of your work. And I think that is very, very important that people forget that step. So before we even went into this, we wanted to get a distribution deal, and we had already targeted the American film market, AFM, which was out in LA last year. We had already targeted, we had set kind of like a time frame around that, and we had already said that that's what we were going to go to.
How was that experience going out to the American film market?
Yeah, I'll give Kathleen her laurels here. She put in a lot of effort behind the scenes prior to going to the market. And it's probably the greatest asset that you could use to get your film out in front of as many people as possible. But like I was saying, it takes a lot of effort, and thankfully, I have a great partner in that Kathy actually did a lot of research on every single distributor, every single production company that was going to be at the market, because they give you a guide saying who is going to be there, some contact information, but it's up to you to take that guide and then do the deep digging, so that when you walk into those meetings, when you walk into the market itself, you're already a step ahead. You have a basis to begin conversation and can be a level playing field to walk into, and you're not on the back foot. But also on top of that, you start reaching out for meetings a month, month and a half, 2 months in advance, because you want to make sure that you walk into every single day and you have those meetings set up. Because if you try to just walk in cold turkey, you may get some meetings here and there, but their schedules are booked weeks in advance. And it's really hard to just walk in and be like, hey, can I talk to you for a couple minutes? So you got to go in there with a lot of preparation, a lot of homework put in, and establish that communication early. And thankfully, Kathy put in a lot of effort to get us to that point. And I'll let her talk a little bit about, what we did beyond that
Yeah.
to prepare.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, and Simon's really great because he knows I can't spell worth crap or anything. So he would look at all before I send communications. You need to help me with this one. He does all of that for me. But we did reach out about 30 days ahead of time, and the AFM gives you a guide of how to work the market. And I suggest if you're going to pay the money to go there, watch that guide and follow it because it was really helpful. But we reached out ahead of time. We set up these meetings, and what we didn't expect, which was a good thing, is we started getting people asking us to meet ahead of AFM. Hey, can we meet with you before? So we had 2 deals before we even got to AFM, and we were like, oh my gosh, like what? We weren't expecting that. So the other thing I suggest, and I say this to anyone in any kind of business that you're in, if there is an area that's not your expertise, hire someone that is their expertise. So we went out and had to get an entertainment lawyer pretty quickly. We knew the basics of a distribution deal, like what different types of deals, because, we searched it, but we didn't know what we didn't know. So when we got more than one already, we were like, wait a minute, we need some help here. So we hired this fantastic, we interviewed people for entertainment lawyer. We hired this one in LA. She was incredible. It was worth a little bit of money spent up front. And when we went to the AFM, like Simon said, we had meetings set up. We had some deals. We were meeting with the people that gave us the deals as well to get more information. We had some, offhand kind of conversations too without having meetings. We also prepared like a leave behind. So like like a rack card kind of leave behind that, hey, if you can't meet with us, here's our film. Here's why you should do our film. And one thing people don't realize, this is not a festival. This is not a film festival. It is business suit, business attire, and these are business people. They don't care if you won festivals. They don't care that your grandma loves you, right? That your local community thinks you're a best actor in the world. Like, how am I going to make money from you? And so you have to research your genre. Is my genre popular right now? How can I make money from this genre? How can I make money without a star name in your film? You don't have a star name. How are you going to make me money? Well, here's the statistics on why my film is going to make money and why it's so popular and different genres it can go in. It can go in this and go. And we did a leave behind that was very business that we left behind. And so, yeah, we at the end of the meeting, we had, I think, four distributor offers. We kind of narrowed it down and brought our, based on personality as well. And we got our entertainment lawyer in, and we settled with Leo Mark Studios, which we have been so far very, very pleased with in communication. But just to make sure you understand up front, we never thought that this was going to be, the $1 million movie. Like, we're going to make $1 million. That was not our goal. So you have to be realistic with your goal. We've met people out there that were like, oh, I'm going to get $1 million. No, you're not, right? You're just not. No star name, independent film, you're not going to get $1 million, right? Unless you're the big one-off. So we always had, again, up front, this is going to be our calling card, right? This movie is going to be our calling card. If we make money, great, right? If we recoup our money, great. But this is our calling card. And with Leo Mark and some of the people like you helping us spread the word, we really feel that we've met the goal so far. So that was our goal.
So is the movie out or is it coming out?
Nope, it's on Amazon, it's on Tubi, and it's also, believe it or not, DVDs are still very popular, which we had no idea. We had no idea, and the distributors all had DVD sales, and we're like, so we have, DVDs are being sold in like 30 different locations around the United States and the world right now. And DVDs are really popular with the older generation, but also with truck drivers. Oddly enough, because they don't have Wi-Fi in their cabs, so they play DVDs. Hope they don't crash, but but yeah. So DVDs are, so right now it's on Tubi and Amazon.
So what's so great about it? I wanna highlight one of the things that I want to highlight you, Kathleen, because I know a lot of actors who does not take this job serious. They think standing in front of the camera, rehearsing lines, saying lines is all that there is to this business. And by you employing yourself to become a business person, so you can benefit from this, beyond the calling card, there is this other component, right? And that is when you do a film like this, and you do another film, and you do a play, every time somebody sees your name, they're going to go look for you. And when they go look for you and this podcast come up and they get an opportunity to hear like your business acumen. See, it's not just the business acumen of what you know, it's what you're willing to find out and what you're willing to do and the amount of work you're willing to put in. And not only that, the thing that I love about you two is y'all are left hand, right hand, and y'all are doing it together. And so when I hear how you are getting this deal, how you got the deal, and I will say this, you can make $1 million off of Godless. You understand what I'm saying? Like you can make, off of Godless Children. I'm being honest when I say this, you can make $1 million. It just doesn't happen in one sitting. But over the next 10 years, if you and Simon, you understand what I'm saying, Simon? Like if y'all did another movie, y'all did another 2 movies, and those 2 movies are doing pretty well, then Godless Children is still going to be making money. is
Hmm.
still going to be making money. And the more and more now, the funny thing about it is this may be an independent film, but if a studio wanted to remake this film on a bigger budget, there go $1 million right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
And
You
we
understand?
even, yeah, we even thought too, like when you're creating as a filmmaker, especially at our level, you have to think about what if someone says, you know, I'm really looking for a series. Great, I can make this a series. Not a
Mm-hmm.
problem, you know, because they may say, hey, I want to do this. Great. Someone asked us, would you be willing to change the ending? Which I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a surprise ending. So, and we were like, for the right price, I'll do anything for this show. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. But going back, Derry, to something you said too, is that you know you hear the thing about it's show business, right? The best way I heard it described is there's a reason the word business is twice as long as the word show because it is more business than it is show. And you're right. Once, you know, you ever see when you're, you know, on your streaming and you constantly see this movie come up and you're like, oh my gosh, let me just look. I mean, it's been there 6 times. It's the same thing as an actor or a filmmaker. You know, it comes across your plate, you see their name, you see their face, and you're like, wait a minute. What, they're always coming across. What are they doing? You know, and it's about getting your name and your face and your work out there so you can do the next one, which is what we're working on now.
Positioning, the power of positioning is
Hmm.
a marketing tool. So, real quick, Simon, what's the next project that y'all got going on?
Yeah, so we're currently feverishly writing our second feature film. And it's a take on if 1984 met Dead Poet Society. It's the speculative fiction, not necessarily science fiction. Think like Interstellar or 1984. It kind of has that the feeling of it could be in the relative future. Also, like Children of Men is another one that you can think of. But that's kind of the vein that we're working in right now. And it's coming along great. We're having a great time working on it. We're pretty close to getting it out there and start pitching it. Again, the business acumen and the business mindset of how are we going to get this out there. And the work that we put into Godless Children is definitely going to, you know, be our stepping stone to moving on to getting this next one made. So it's a great time to be in the business. You know, having a little bit of a time to gather ourselves and kind of not rest on just, you know, we made a film and let's stop here and we're just keep moving forward.
Um, I do have one other question before we get out of here, and I think this question is really about the finances. So explain how y'all divvy up the finances between because a lot of people, you know, they as partnerships, you go into this and you say to yourself, how do this work to benefit us? You know, if we're not making a lot of money, you know, do your $500 meet my 500, or are we getting 60% of just go over that for me just real quick.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say
If I'm
is
not being too nosy, Kathleen.
no, no, that's fine. One thing I will say is I came from like the world of business. So even though Simon and I are friends, you know, we had a writer's agreement right up front. Um, for even for this next film we're writing, like this is what we agreed to. So, you know, I don't know, we may fall out and we don't have things written down and you know how that mess goes, right? So we have a writer's agreement and how we kind of work the payment, it really was fluid between the two of us, but the agreement discussed how we were going to be paid back, right? So whether, you know, that month, you know how sometimes that week you have money, the other one doesn't, paying rent, you know, like it was fluid like that, but never once, I don't think, I'll speak for both, we felt that it was uneven. We have everything written down, what exactly we spent, who spent what, and so when the money starts coming in, like how it'll be broken out, it's already written down, it's already decided. So again, that takes the pressure off, you know, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to have that a conversation with someone to say, "Hey, I want you to sign this agreement. I know we're, you know, good friends and stuff, but I don't have a problem saying uncomfortable things there." So I was like, we need to do this, and it's helped because it just relieves that pressure of how am I going to get paid back? Who's going to get money first? Like, how's that going to work? profit versus revenue is a big thing, right? So like, how's that going to work? So we decided that up front.
And it also just kind of breaks down as well, not just the, how do I get paid back, but also talks, about like, okay, if something happens to one of us, who gets control of this, or who can have the say on this project, and things like that, and what effort needs to be put in, and like what is expected during this work exchange, because it is a partnership. Whether or not you're friends, whether or not, things were good on the last one, it doesn't matter. This is a whole new partnership. You're going into it as a business deal. And then, you can go have laughs or whatever, and enjoy the process. But like Kathleen said, you got to get that hard, talk. You got to do the business up front, so that you can just kind of be like, okay, I know that's taken care of. Now let's, do what we need to do. And it does help in the end, like Kathleen said, if there is a falling out, or if there is an issue, that's something that is in stone. It is, signed and agreed upon, and we both have copies. And if it's need to, that's what you look back to. But it's the difficult conversations that you need to have up front, and understand what you're walking into before you do it, because otherwise, you can have some very, very troubling situations.
Yeah.
Derry, like you said, like, what if someone wanted to, make it different or whatever? We have that in our writers' agreement too. Like, if someone comes to us and says, how do we both agree on that? Like, who win? Like, and so it's right up there up front. So again, it takes that pressure off at the end. So.
I don't know who brought you two together, but whoever did an amazing job. I mean, we know who did it. God did it.
That's right. That's right.
But whoever in the physical form brought you two together did a really excellent thing. Partnering is really hard. It is one of the hardest. When I teach screenwriters, I actually have a whole presentation of telling people not to partner. Y'all just changed the way I think about partnering. And I mean, I love it. I love it.
And I know you said you teach. If there's anything that we can do to help with your classes too, happy to do so, to share, because I think in this business we have to share what we acquire, a knowledge we acquire with each other, because it's so difficult out there for independent film. We have to share it. So more than willing to help.
Oh, absolutely. So Kathleen and Simon, Kathleen first, tell us where we can find you at in the universe, in the digital universe, so we can look you up.
Sure. I have a webpage. It's www.kathleen-regan.com. The dash is, social distancing. So let's think about it that way. And that's my website. You can find all my information there.
Yeah, for myself, I would rather push it towards the company that we work and produce in. That's where a lot of my work and time goes into. So it'd be ruminationimages.com. And you can find all social links there, and including this wonderful film we've been talking about for the past 30 minutes, Godless Children.
Thank you so much to the both of you for stepping on to the Film Mechanics Screenwriting Podcast and talking about your journey of Godless Children getting distributed out to distribution. We enjoy Simon Barracchini and Kathleen Regan, and we look forward to seeing what y'all do next. Peace and blessings, and thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
And don't forget to pick up your copy of the Film Mechanics Screenwriting Workbook, a screenwriting process that sells, at www.dairytitan.com. See you next episode.